The way we consume and share news today is largely rooted in social media outlets, a reason why it's crucial to look at what's being discussed online. From the hottest issues and trends for our daily social media minute, we're joined by Yerka in green. Good morning.
Good morning.
Her favorite color.
That's true. Isn't green one of your favorites too?
It's my all-time favorite. It's great minds. All right, let's jump into our first buzzword of the day. Some exoplanets to be observed by the James Webb Space Telescope. But it has names for it.
That's right. I think a total of 20 were selected. And two of them, the names are actually of Korean origin.
That's nice.
Yeah, so a fixed star and an exoplanet that will be observed by the James Webb Space Telescope have been given these Korean names. They were named Maru and Ara, respectively.
Pretty.
Yeah. I think so too. The Korea Astronomical Research Institute announced yesterday the results of a contest that was recently held to name the star and stars and exoplanets conducted by the International Astronomical Union.
Okay, so there was a contest to get this job done. How many countries actually participated and how many names were submitted?
Yeah, actually, I was surprised. A total of 603 names were submitted from 91 countries around the world.
Do you think anyone used a really generic name, like, no offense, but like Grace?
I'm not sure, actually.
I wonder if they ever tried, because I mean, Maru and Ara are, especially from, I think, an English-speaking community, completely new. Right?
Yeah.
It feels foreign.
That's right. It sounds.
Because Grace the Star,
Korean.
it just doesn't sound right.
No.
Okay. All right, lots of submissions.
Yes. So, like I mentioned, the International Astronomical Union announced the names of the final 20 exoplanets. From Korea, a total of 32 names were submitted in the preliminary screening.
Okay, so you don't just pick like the top three.
Yeah, we're streaming the image now. On the left, we have Maru, and to the right, we have Ara.
So honestly, just like the last time we talked about the observations made through the Webb Space Telescope, I mean, it almost feels like computer graphics.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's a real deal, guys. Maru and Ara.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the exoplanet system that was given the Korean name then.
Yeah, so the WD exoplanet system is about 63 light years from the planet Earth, and it's located in the southern sky constellation 날치자리. And the star WD 0806 661 is about 0.6 times the mass of the sun. The exoplanet WD 0806 661b is about 8 times larger than Jupiter. The distance between the star and the planet is about 2,500 AU. So 1 AU is the average distance between the sun and the Earth. It's about 150 million kilometers.
Okay, somebody do the math. 2,500 times 150 million kilometers. All right, I wonder then who gets to actually suggest these selected names? You said 32 names were submitted from Korea.
Yeah, that's right. So these two names that were selected, Maru and Ara, they were named by 3 high school students.
That's something.
Yeah, from Dongdeok Girls High School. Their names are Iji-woo, Kim Soo-min, and Kim Do-yeon, all 17 years old. And they were the ones who suggested these names. And after hearing that the names that they had, submitted were selected, they said, we named Maru a word associated with sky, and Ara a word associated with the sea. Yeah. And they were thinking about environmental issues recently, and they put one and one together to come up with these names.
And hence Maru and Ara.
Yeah.
And I know they did it because probably it sounded fun and interesting. I think that's how kids operate, right? But I'm thinking, ooh, put that on your resume.
It's really cool, though.
Isn't it? I mean, I feel like you get all of the bragging rights. Oh, my goodness. I wish they could get like an official document, something.
And these names are permanent permanent, by the way.
Right. I'd hope so. Yeah. Well, congratulations to the three students from Dongdok Girls High School. That's something, guys.
Yep.
On to our second story. I mean, these three girls said, they were thinking about the environment, and I can't think of a more apocalyptic way to talk about the urgency of addressing those issues. The Canadian wildfires enveloping New York City, I think we've seen those hazy images.
Yeah, I wonder if our listeners have seen the photos as well. New York is yellow.
Orange, yellow, hazy,
yellow.
And it really does look like a scene out of an apocalyptic movie. And I think it was New York Times that did these shots of New York being just completely
covered,
being blanketed by this haze.
So the devastating fires in Canada have displaced more than 20,000 people, scorched around 3.8 million hectares of land. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau described this wildfire, the latest wildfire season, as the country's worst ever. Now, more than 100 million people across the northeastern U.S. and extending west to Chicago and south to Atlanta were under pollution warnings after the smoke drifted hundreds of miles from Canada. Again, the pollution was thick. It was eerie, yellowish. It delayed flights, forced the postponement of various events, including sporting events. People living in New York City complain that the entire city smells like people are having a barbecue.
All simultaneously together?
Yeah, all simultaneously together. And people complained of having watery eyes, itchy eyes. And, the New York mayor, Eric Adams, told New Yorkers to limit outdoor activities to the absolute necessities. He added that this is not the day to train for a marathon.
Or to just be outdoors at all. All outdoor activities, accordingly, in New York City's public schools were suspended. Of course, the smog enveloped the Statue of Liberty, the Manhattan skyline. I think that's what's even more eerie for us.
And we're also seeing photos of people taking photos of just how apocalyptic the city looks. I
mean, I'm looking at the images and it just looks so surreal. And my friends in New York City were uploading pictures real time. And it's just devastating.
It's funny, people were complaining about the smell and the itchy eyes. And, they're coughing all day long. And some other New Yorkers were saying, you know what? New York City always smells a little bit weird. So it doesn't, I'm not really that bothered. So we had some, different accounts.
During tough times, I think, humor is fantastic. I mean, what's the point of me saying, oh, that looks horrible? You're right.
Now, the Federal Aviation Administration said it had slowed traffic to and from the city's airports due to reduced visibility. More than 15,000 people had already been evacuated in Quebec as of yesterday. The scientists have warned that rising temperatures are increasing the risk of such extreme weather conditions, including the hot, dry spells that often fan these wildfires. IQAir.com, which tracks air quality around the world, recently said that New York, which is usually known for blue skies, was enduring the worst air quality index of any major city in the world. Now, New York is normally outside the 3,000 worst cities for pollution, according to this website.
It's usually far removed from factories, and it's dense, and there are a lot of cars. However, it's compared to bigger cities, compared to more congested cities, compared to cities without a major park in the middle, things like that. Anyway, there you have it. It's not the last of it either, because can you imagine going forward what kind of stories we're going to get?
That's right.
All right, our final story makes me chuckle just a little bit because all animal stories make me laugh, and just the fact that they had to set this up so birds don't run into essentially glass walls, for example. It's kind of funny.
I live in an apartment now, but for around 7 years I lived in a house in Puamdong in Jongno-gu, which is pretty central Seoul, and I saw at least 3 birds just smashing into the window, and and one of them actually, I remember it was stunned, right? And after a few minutes, I went to look at it. I was like, oh my God, is it dead again? And they actually flew away.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But two of them I had to bury in my garden. It's horrible, actually.
So, okay. Yeah. Jokes aside, because
there was
a
lot.
Famous commercial I just can't, forget. It was, I think, to talk about some cleaning concoction for windows. And the idea was the window's so clean, the bird keeps running into it. But jokes aside, it happens all too often in cities like Seoul, for example.
That's why glass walls and other see-through structures that will be built by public institutions must now include visible patterns to prevent these sorts of bird collisions.
Okay.
And this is going to start next week, actually. According to the Environment Ministry, around 8 million birds are killed in such collisions. Nearly 230,000 fly into transparent soundproof walls, along the roads, highways, to their death.
I had no idea the numbers were so sky high.
8 million. Now, the enforcement decree of the Wildlife Protection and Management Act was revised back in June of last year. And the revised decree includes bird collision prevention measures. And the revision was promulgated just yesterday and will go into effect on Sunday.
So under this revision, public structures built with transparent or reflective materials need to include patterns to essentially warn birds of a presence of something in their way.
That's right, exactly. Parallel line patterns should be at least 3 millimeters thick, with each line 5 centimeters or shorter apart. So there are very specific guidelines for these patterns as well.
Okay.
Vertical line patterns should be at least 6 millimeters thick, with each line 10 centimeters or shorter apart.
I'm assuming so it has to be blatantly obvious for the bird to see.
Exactly. Now, other patterns should be at least 6 millimeters in diameter, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully this is going to reduce the number of birds from flying to their deaths in the future.
Honestly, when I saw the headline, I just chuckled. But it's no laughing matter. That's a lot of birds prematurely dying because they don't see a glass window or something in their way.
Yep.
Okay, so at least we have regulations for it. Thanks, Erica.
I hope you had a good week. Have a good weekend. See you next week.
See you next week. If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.